your #1 source for local news. This is WRAL, coverage you can count on.
We have some dangerous heat headed this way for 4th of July weekend. I'll show you wind highs climb into the triple digits coming up.
Plus, record crowds at RDU. The 4th of July travel rush is in full swing, and the TSA says they are prepared. A look at how they are increasing safety measures.
Supreme Court rulings. The highest court in the land rules on several major cases. What the decisions could mean for the future. Dangerous heat is on the way for the upcoming holiday weekend, a time when a lot of people spend a lot of time outdoors. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Chris Levinger. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking about it all day long. Triple digits at multiple points during the week. Amy, we know you've been watching that very closely in the WRAL Severe Weather Center.
It's going to be pretty tough. Some tough heat by the middle and end of the week. Starting Thursday all the way through Sunday, we expect triple-digit highs. So we're in the 100s, and it will feel even hotter when you factor in the humidity out there. So here's a look at the forecast. Thursday, 102. Friday, 104. Saturday for 4th of July, 103. And Sunday, 100. So this is an extended period of time of triple-digit heat. So far this year, we've had 3 days, and I do think we're going to be adding to those days later on this week. Right now, it's still pretty comfortable outside. Temperatures are in the low 80s. It's 81 degrees in Raleigh, 83 in Rocky Mount, 84 in Southern Pines. We have more of a northerly flow today. We also have some clouds kind of helping us out a little bit, but it is very humid. It's pretty sticky outside with a dew point at 72. It puts us well into the tropical category, so it's definitely muggy outside. Do want to mention a quick look at the radar. We have a couple of showers moving in from the north in the northern part of our viewing area, so that's not really widespread, but just want to mention we do have that small chance for a passing shower today. It's about a 20% chance, so most of you will stay dry. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds, maybe a good pool day because it's not super hot just yet. High temperatures will climb into the low 90s, which is pretty typical for this time of year. I'll have more on the weekend forecast and how long this heat's going to stick around coming up.
I'm Laura Levine here in the WRAL Live Center following some breaking news out of eastern North Carolina in Bertie County, where inmates at the Bertie Martin Regional Jail in eastern North Carolina were able to overpower and seize control over the jail early this morning. This is a look at some video that we received from our sister station from that scene that's still active here, where you can see the huge law enforcement presence here. Now, we can report that several detention officers are now safe after they took control over this facility. It began at around 5:30 this morning. We also have a look at a map here, just giving you an idea of where this is located. Just south, you can see, or next to Rocky Mount on the other end there, but again, east of Rocky Mount. According to the SBI, a total of 88 inmates and 3 guards were inside the facility when the incident began, and one of the guards was able to escape with 2 others taken hostage. At around 9:30 a.m., the SBI said authorities were able to negotiate the safe release of 18 inmates, and the 2 guard hostages were unharmed. So right now, again, they're still working to seize control and get back control of the facility. This is a story that we will continue to stay on top of with a news conference that is beginning in the next few minutes here.
And hopefully we'll get some more perspective from that press conference. Laura, thank you. Well, it is the start of what is expected to be a busy travel week. According to AAA, nearly 6 million people are set to fly for the 4th of July holiday. And WRAL's Heidi Kirk joins us live right now from RDU, going up the escalator right now. Heidi, people are already starting their holiday early.
Chris, some are, but I've actually talked to a lot of people here at RDU this morning who said they're headed out for a work trip or just kind of general travel actually before the holiday. A lot of people here who we spoke with not even traveling at all. But listen, it is going to get a lot busier here at RDU. They expect to screen 133,000 folks right here through security lines in that busy holiday travel season. Now, the busiest days are coming up. That is going to be on Thursday, so just a couple of days from now. That happens to be when I am traveling, of course. And then also on Sunday and Monday after that busy holiday travel season. Now, here at RDU, they are already kind of upping some of their staffing and making sure that people are ready to handle the influx of people. Go ahead and take a listen at some of what they're urging people to do.
Our peak travel times are early in the morning, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., and in the afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. We are staffed to manage our wait time standards. That's 10 minutes or less for TSA pre-check, 30 minutes or less for standard screening.
And you hear her mention those specific travel times. If you are headed to the airport like I am, especially on Thursday, Sunday, or Monday during those times, you may want to get here even earlier than that 2-hour recommended time frame. Now, coming up only on WRAL tonight, we're going to have a behind-the-scenes look at some of the security measures in place that definitely helps during these busiest times. That includes a look at some of our furry friends, the canines, who help scout out explosives here at RDU and several other airports. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News, live at RDU.
And according to new data from AAA, the average for a gallon of gas, if you're driving in Raleigh, is $3.53 ahead of the holiday. Last year, the national average for a gallon of regular was $3.15. And this year, prices are higher but remain lower than in 2022. That's when the national average was $4.80 on Independence Day.
Breaking news, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down several rulings this morning as the current terms comes to a close. The first involves Federal Reserve Board member Lisa Cook. The justices ruled that she can remain on the job while she fights the president's effort to fire her over allegations of mortgage fraud. The court voted 5-4 to reject the Trump administration's effort, with Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh joining the 3 liberal justices. The news was not so good for FTC Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter. The High Court ruled that the president can remove members of independent agencies such as the Consumer Product Safety Commission and EEOC without cause. This ruling differs from the Cook ruling because the Federal Reserve is an independent body that guides U.S. monetary policy. On the topic of mail-in ballots, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld a Mississippi law that allows election officials to count mail-in ballots that are postmarked by Election Day but received up to 5 days after it. 18 states and territories have such mail ballot grace periods. And finally, the Supreme Court rejected the president's effort to overturn a jury's finding that he sexually abused and defamed writer E. Jean Carroll. And that means the 2023 verdict and $5 million civil judgment will remain in place. Since the case was appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court, the matter is over.
First on WRAL, state lawmakers reached a long-awaited deal on the state budget, and their goal is to vote on it some point this week. WRAL's Ali Kadhabar has more information on what's expected in the deal, including raises for state employees, but also what's not included.
And that deal excludes some major proposals. People familiar with the budget negotiations tell our NC Capitol team that lawmakers spent the weekend going back and forth trying to finalize their spending priorities.
Under the deal, state employees would receive their first raise in 2 years. Most workers would see a 3% increase in pay. State employees in corrections and some other public safety roles would receive much bigger raises, ranging from 10.1% to 17.7%, depending on role and classification. Teachers would also see pay increases, averaging about 8% under the agreement. One proposal that did make it: new revenue sharing from sports betting taxes that would benefit NC State and UNC. But the final budget leaves out some major proposals that had been part of earlier discussions. A proposal to fund a Major League Baseball stadium didn't make it. WRAL first reported Senate leaders were pushing a framework for a $1.7 billion Raleigh stadium to support a Major League Baseball expansion bid. WRAL state government reporter Caroline Yaffa explains why it didn't make the cut.
House Speaker Destin Hall needs to see proof that taxpayers are going to get a return on investment if a baseball team is brought to North Carolina. He says that it's possible that he could support this in the future, but at this moment, the framework is not showing that it is likely to happen.
Now, as of late last night, lawmakers were working through small member requests, money for things like new buildings, new bridges, or new fire stations for home districts. WRAL will be following this throughout the week. Reporting in Raleigh, Ali Kadhabar, WRAL News.
Now, as of late last night, lawmakers were still working through smaller member requests, and that includes money for new bridges, fire stations, and home districts, among other things. And we will be following developments in the budget breakthrough, so stay up to date on WRAL.com and our evening newscast starting at 4 p.m.
The trial of a Durham man charged with murder is moving forward today.
Darius Tyson is one of 3 men charged with the death of Sean Burton, a father of 6. Burton was last seen in March of 2022. His truck was found in Warren County with blood inside. His body has never been found. Jury selection is currently underway. Tyson's trial is expected to go into next week. A Carborough man will go to trial for allegedly selling drugs that killed a man in 2023. Jeremiah Hargrove was arrested more than a year after the victim, Sergei Momo, died from a fentanyl overdose. Hargrove is accused of selling him the drugs. Hargrove faces 5 to 6 years in prison if found guilty of death by distribution. The General Assembly enacted this law in 2019 to make it a felony to sell a controlled substance that causes the death of a user. The trial is expected to last all week.
Here in the Live Center right now, reaction continues to pour in after former NFL star and ECU grad Chris Johnson made publicly known today that he was diagnosed with ALS. He did an interview today that was speaking through a speech generation device and told Good Morning America that he was diagnosed with the disease last year. He is now 40 years old. Now, this noon, we are getting new reaction and statement coming in from the Tennessee Titans, where he played running back for many years there. A statement coming in saying that some people leave a mark on an organization that you just can't put into words. The Titans owner said that Chris Johnson is one of those people for us. His leadership on the field, in addition to his impact in the locker room and Nashville community, have written him permanently into the story of this franchise. Now, Johnson was named the 2009 Offensive Player of the Year award when he broke the NFL's single season record for total yards for scrimmage. Of course, really heartbreaking news to learn that he's been battling this for the last year.
Goodness gracious. And have the strength to talk about that publicly. All right, thank you for bringing that for us, Laura. Well, the U.S. and Iran appear to have paused fighting after a weekend of escalating attacks, and a new round of peace talks appears to be on the table as the war enters its 5th month. Here's NBC's Alice Barr with more.
After a weekend flare-up in fighting, President Trump posted this morning Iran requested a meeting that he says is happening tomorrow in Doha, Qatar.
Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be flying to Doha for high-level meetings this week. We're holding up our end of the ceasefire. Violence will be met with violence.
A source with knowledge of the talks told NBC News communication channels are in place aimed at de-escalating incidents. Multiple news outlets are reporting the two sides have agreed to pause the strikes, among them the Wall Street Journal, citing officials from the U.S. and other countries involved in negotiations. Iran has not confirmed an agreement. Vice President Vance on Friday downplayed the disruption, saying a ceasefire.
It's always going to be a little messy when you're dealing with the Iranians, but if we make the final deal, then great. If we don't make the final deal, their nuclear program is still destroyed. They're still much weaker as a country.
The two sides have been in detailed talks over the future of Iran's nuclear program following the signed Memorandum of Understanding initial agreement, though on Saturday, President Trump warned the U.S. could be forced to militarily complete the job, accusing Iran of violating the ceasefire after an attack on a ship in the Strait of Hormuz late last week. U.S. forces then fired on Iranian military targets, with Iran striking back against U.S. Gulf allies Bahrain and Kuwait. On Capitol Hill, Republicans largely backing the administration's approach.
If they strike us, we have to strike them back by 10.
As some voice concerns.
So there's a lot of work to be done, and I just fundamentally do not trust the Iranians.
With the path to lasting peace uncertain. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Meanwhile, Israel has continued its strikes in southern Lebanon on Hezbollah targets there, and that further complicates the peace talks.
Preparing for trial. What's slated to happen today in the case against Luigi Mangione, the accused killer in the death of the United Healthcare CEO.
Plus, summer heat tough to beat. How high temperatures and dry conditions in the U.S. are leading to dangerous conditions, including a deadly wildfire out west.
And tracking holiday gas prices. A look at how much you could pay this week if you're headed out for the July 4th holiday.
Coming up next, see storms moving in with WRAL's exclusive Dual Doppler 5000, sponsored by the WRAL Weather app. Download now for live radar.
Such a beautiful view as we take a live look at Anger, the puffy clouds there, the crepe myrtles in bloom. Ooh, it's going to feel toasty today, but it's going to be even hotter come the end of the week as we approach the 4th of July. You're watching WRAL News, available on Hulu and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
Luigi Mangione is scheduled to appear in federal court today, and he has a hearing in the 2024 murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Today's hearing is set to focus on preparations for his federal trial, including plans for jury selection. Mangione's defense previously argued extensive media coverage could make it difficult to seat an impartial jury. He could receive life in prison if convicted. His state trial is set to begin September 8th, while the federal trial is not expected until next year. And we're also following a development in Alec Murdaugh's case. His hearing today marks the start of his path to a retrial. You may recall the South Carolina Supreme Court overturned murder convictions in the deaths of his wife and son. Murdaugh denies the charges. The judge is considering several defense motions in this case and could rule on some or all of them during this hearing. And despite the retrial, Murdaugh will stay in prison, and that's because he pleaded guilty to dozens of financial crimes.
A summer sizzler ahead of the 4th of July weekend. A large section of the country is bracing for an excessive heat wave with temperatures that could feel like over 100 degrees in cities from Chicago to New York. Here's NBC's Shaquille Brewster.
This morning, millions bracing for a holiday heat wave ahead of the 4th of July. Forecasters warning of dangerously hot conditions with record temperatures soaring throughout the week. 139 million people are under heat alerts from Minneapolis to Tallahassee, with the swelter extending into the Northeast. New York City opening its public pools, with the mayor jumping in wearing a different kind of swimsuit. The week ahead expected to feel more than 100 degrees in multiple states. While out west, deadly wildfires raging across the Rockies, with more than a dozen fast-moving blazes burning through the region. Officials say 3 Colorado firefighters were killed and 2 others were injured over the weekend in a desperate effort to contain flames along the Colorado-Utah border. In Utah, the nation's largest active fire already scorching 92,000 acres, placing hundreds of homes at risk and prompting evacuations. One family's condo was completely consumed by the blaze.
There's nothing but cinder block foundations left.
Millions now under air quality alerts from California to Colorado. It comes as search and rescues are still underway in Kentucky, where catastrophic flash flooding overwhelmed the state over the weekend, killing at least 4 people and prompting dozens of water rescues. The governor signaling the end is near.
Everybody out there, stay safe. The rain is just about done in all of Kentucky, and then we will dig out.
And I'm here with Amy in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. We will be experiencing that heat wave as well. That will start Thursday. Amy, these are our actual temperatures for the highs.
These are the forecast numbers. So we're not talking about heat index, but actual triple digits Thursday all the way through the holiday weekend. And it's because we have this big ridge of high pressure that's just going to sit over us. And so we're going to bake and have very small rain chances as well. So start preparing for the heat. We don't have any heat alerts in North Carolina yet, but we're kind of surrounded by the heat alerts. I would expect our area to go under some of these, probably starting Thursday, especially Friday. We'll talk more about the heat index potential as we head into the next half hour, but the heat risk for the next couple of days, it's really not that bad. You start to see this line going up, and by the time we get to Thursday, we're kind of on the border of major and extreme, and then Friday, it's going to be a tough, very hot day across the area with triple-digit heat and the heat index well into the triple digits. Doesn't feel that bad outside right now. It's 81, but the dew point's at 72, so it does feel very sticky outside, pretty humid, but at least temperatures are still in the low 80s at the noon hour. And afternoon highs are expected to be pretty close to normal, around 91 this afternoon. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds. We've had a lot of cloud cover out there so far today. This is a live look at Lewisburg, where we have the clouds in place, and I don't think you can really see it. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a couple of raindrops as well. A couple of spotty showers moving through the northeastern part of our viewing area. So here's Raleigh here, and we have a couple of showers just to the north and east. Most of you are going to stay dry. You're going to be lucky to get any of this rain, but I wanted to point out that we have at least a couple of showers on our live dual pole 5000 right now. So Rain chances are very minimal today. It's just a 20% chance. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think we're dry. Friday, we're back to a 20% chance. So minimal rain. In fact, for the next 5 days, this is a look at the total. And this is pretty bleak for us because we still have the drought across all of North Carolina. We could use the rain. I know a lot of you probably don't want it for the holiday weekend, and I think we're going to stay pretty dry for the holiday weekend. This is Friday morning. We'll have that big ridge over us, and with a big ridge of high pressure, you have sinking, very stable air. So it looks to stay dry Friday. If you have any travel plans, if you're headed to the mountains or the coast, I think we're dry on Friday. Pretty much the same thing Saturday. We still have that ridge over us, so the rain's kind of all around North Carolina, but we should stay dry for the 4th of July holiday itself. And then Sunday, staying mainly dry, but starting to see maybe a couple of spotty showers over western parts of North Carolina. So the take-home message, it's going to be hot and it's likely to be dry through the holiday weekend. So today, not too bad if you have some outdoor things to do. Today's probably the best day. 91 the high, but it's the coolest day in the next 7. 94 Tuesday, approaching 100 Wednesday, and then we are in the triple digits Thursday all the way through Sunday. And again, we'll talk more about that heat index in the next half hour.
104. Sweating thinking about it. All right, thanks, Amy. Well, new at 4, love and money. More young couples are keeping separate bank accounts instead of combining finances. So 5 on your side takes a closer look at whether this could be the key to a stronger relationship.
Plus, dangerous heat moving into our area, and knowing the warning signs could save a life. Today at 5, a Duke Health expert explains when heat exhaustion becomes heat stroke and when it's time to seek emergency care.
So it turns out shoppers spent more than $26 billion during Amazon's annual Prime Day. Some people at home are raising their hand going, yeah, I'm guilty. Well, that's actually up more than 9% compared to last year. Customers bought high-priced items such as electronics, toys, and appliances thanks to heavy discounts. Analysts say that suggests retailers may have to keep offering bargains to move products off their shelves for the holidays.
I may have bought a few things. Uber is expanding the list of criminal offenses that permanently disqualify someone from being a driver in the U.S. Uber will not allow people with prior convictions for violent felonies, sexual crimes, stalking, and strangulation at any time in their lives to be drivers. The stricter background checks also apply to couriers for Uber's delivery services. Uber currently faces thousands of lawsuits from passengers who claim they were sexually assaulted during Uber rides. A new California law kicks in on July 1st that bans loud commercials on streaming platforms. The law bars streaming platforms from running commercials that play at higher volumes than their shows, movies, or other content. Existing federal regulations require broadcast and cable television to match programming volume. The legislation mandates streaming platforms do the same.
We are talking about avoiding dehydration. An ER doctor explains the signs and the symptoms and ways you can prevent a heat emergency this summer.
And fishy claims. Americans spend about $1 billion a year on fish oil supplements, hoping to improve brain health. What a new study says about that alleged benefit. And here are the winning North Carolina Education Lottery numbers.
Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
AAA expects more than 61 million people are going to drive to their destination for the 4th of July holiday. You see, last year, the national average for a gallon of regular gas was around $3.15. And although prices, yes, they're coming down, they're still causing headaches for some drivers. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey tells us exactly how people are adjusting their vacation plans to save money.
Gas is $3.55 here at this Exxon on Atlantic Avenue. Travelers are not only taking note of the higher prices here at the pump, they're also paying attention to the higher prices for everything else, like food and hotel stays. That's why many of them are changing their spending habits this 4th of July holiday. More than 2 million North Carolinians plan to hit the road this week, according to AAA. Many travelers are changing their plans to offset the higher cost of gas, like choosing a destination closer to home or taking shorter trips. Maurice Gabriel says his family is cutting back on travel overall, and they're choosing to drive instead of fly.
Right now what we're doing is instead of flying to a lot of places, we're driving. We've actually cut back. We normally take about 5 to 6 trips a year, but this year we're probably going to only do 3 because of gas prices and airfares.
You can head to WRAL.com and search fuel for the lowest gas prices anywhere. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And ahead of the holiday weekend, Airbnb is cracking down on large bookings. And the company right now is using technology to ramp up enforcement of a ban on parties. Hundreds of people were blocked from renting out properties across our state last year during the 4th of July rush. And the company looks at things such as the length of someone's stay and when it was booked.
Today, the trial is scheduled to begin for a man accused of shooting and killing a driver on I-40 in Wake County in an apparent case of road rage. 35-year-old Josue Reyes is accused of shooting and killing Ricardo Cardenas. He's also accused of being in the country illegally and faces a federal gun charge. The shooting happened in March last year along I-40 near Cary. We spoke with the family of Ricardo Cardenas. They say he was a father to 2 boys and was on his way to work that day and did not know the suspect. Since that day, the Cardenas has felt his absence every day.
A couple days after Christmas was his birthday. That was the hardest day. That was the hardest day. Because that was the first birthday without my brother.
Earlier this month, Homeland Security agents arrested Reyes and charged him with possessing a firearm while being in the U.S. illegally. This morning, a judge ruled that prosecutors will not be able to talk about his immigration status during trial. Proceedings are set to resume at 2:30 this afternoon.
Laura Levine here in the WRAL Life Center. 2 former NBA players have now been charged in the latest that have been charged in a gambling investigation, including former UNC player Ed Davis. Now, the other player, Malik Beasley, and we have this story on WRAL.com, is alleged to have adjusted his performance based on prop bet trends in games in 2024. Now, Davis hasn't played since 2022, but according to prosecutors, he placed bets on Beasley. This investigation goes back to 2025 when Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier were charged in different cases. Both have since pleaded not guilty. Now, Davis played for UNC for 2 seasons, and he was named the ACC All-Freshman Team and won a national championship with the Tar Heels back in 2009.
As state lawmakers move closer and closer to voting on a budget, one part of this deal would see UNC and NC State getting a cut of the money from sports gambling taxes. UNC and NC State are the state's largest and most popular college sports programs, but they've been left out of distributions from taxes on sports betting operators. That money has flowed instead to other state schools.
UNC and NC State have been lobbying about this issue since the dawn of sports gambling in North Carolina in 2024. All other 13 UNC system schools that have athletic departments have been collecting money during this time period. NC State and UNC have said, well, many people are betting on us. We should probably get a cut of that.
They want their piece of the pie. And under the proposal, both schools could receive up to nearly $6 million annually beginning July 1st of next year. That's the same amount Appalachian State, Charlotte, and East Carolina are getting. The new proposal would also raise the tax rate on sports betting operators. Actually, the WRAL documentary unit explored the impact of sports gambling in a recent project. It looks at the explosion in sports gambling, the surge in calls to gambling hotlines, and where the industry is headed next. You can watch The Gamble on the WRAL YouTube channel.
As the heat intensifies this summer, so does the risk for dehydration, which is why it's so important to drink plenty of water. The early signs of dehydration can be subtle. You may feel thirsty, get a headache, or notice that your urine is darker in color. Well, if left untreated, symptoms can progress. You may start to feel tired, get dizzy. You may even pass out. But there are ways to prevent dehydration.
The best way to prevent dehydration is to take in continuous water throughout the day. And while you're drinking water, make sure you're using electrolytes as well. That can come through food or electrolyte supplementation. In addition, eating foods with water in them, such as fruits like watermelon, can help. Making sure you monitor and limit your caffeine and alcohol intake, and monitor your environment.
Drink water before you feel thirsty. The other two that are very important are heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Heat exhaustion is when your body has a difficult time recovering from increased temperatures, and heat stroke is when it loses its ability to recover. Women in need across Wake County have another option for access to health care. The Raleigh nonprofit No Woman, No Girl is opening its new Dignity Boutique over on Capitol Boulevard. The shop provides free hygiene products to women in crisis through referrals from local organizations. Executive Director Sharnetta Harrell says more than 400 women and girls received services in the last 30 days. The need continues to grow as the cost of living rises.
There's so much happening in the world. You know, the economy, gas is high, food is high. So if a woman is hungry, she also needs access to hygiene products. The thing that we are addressing here at No Woman No Girl is really an invisible issue. It's something that a lot of people don't really talk about. It's something that we all really take for granted. So really here at No Woman No Girl, what we are doing really is transformative.
Such an important resource. The No Woman, No Girl Dignity Boutique is open Tuesday through Friday. Hours are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Looks like that'll help a lot of people. Okay, we're talking about weight loss drugs covered. We'll explain how to get popular GLP-1 drugs under a new pilot program through Medicare.
And no brain benefits. That's what a new study found with fish oil supplements. What it revealed about protection against Alzheimer's. And remember, you can watch WRAL News live on WRAL.com or the WRAL app on your streaming device. Starting Wednesday, millions of Medicare enrollees will receive coverage for weight loss under a temporary pilot program. Under the plan, qualified Part D enrollees will pay $50 for a month's supply. Enrollees are not eligible if they already receive GLP-1 medications through their Medicare Part D drug plan or have specific health issues, including type 2 diabetes. Both Novo Nordisk, which makes Wegovy, and Eli Lilly, which makes Zepbound, say they have enough supply to meet the new demand. Americans spend more than $1 billion each year on fish oil supplements, largely because of claims that the omega-3 fatty acids they contain can support brain health. But a 2-year study by the University of Southern California found no benefit. Researchers say that omega-3s from fish oil did not improve brain health in older adults at increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. Brain scans also showed that fish oil supplements did not slow shrinkage of the hippocampus. That's the region of the brain critical for memory and commonly used as a marker of brain aging and Alzheimer's risk.
New research reveals more than half of the child safety protections launched by social media companies do not work as advertised. Researchers tested 86 youth safety features across TikTok and Instagram and Snap and YouTube. They wanted to know if they worked as described and whether children could realistically find and use them. Get this, only 35 of those features met both criteria. The findings call into question claims that social media companies made heavy investments in new features to make platforms safer for young people. And the Princess of Wales completed the Three Peaks Challenge to support the hospital where she was treated for cancer 2 years ago. The endurance challenge involves summiting the highest mountains in England, Scotland, and Wales within 24 hours. The 44-year-old announced that her diagnosis and that she was undergoing chemotherapy treatment in March of 2024. And almost a year later, she shared that she was in remission.
That's good to hear. And climbing mountains. While proving impairment, law enforcement will be on the lookout for drivers who are under the influence during the July 4th holiday. WRAL investigates the new tools designed to keep you safe on the roads.
And dangerous heat is headed our way. We have meteorologist Amy Wilmoth explaining how long it's going to stick around, including triple-digit temperatures. Right now, we know that lawmakers across the state, you'll see a lot more of them on the road this week, and that's because they are cracking down on drunk driving during the holiday week. Operation Firecracker is an annual effort during the Independence Day week. In our state, the week is one of the deadliest for travel. The operation ends July 5th.
Keeping the state's roads safe from drug drivers is getting more complicated. WRAL investigates Destiny Patterson explains how law enforcement agencies are trying to catch up to the changing landscape of impaired driving.
These officers keep an eye out for impaired drivers.
Hey, this person is impaired. Now let's look and see what they're impaired on.
That detail is becoming more important for the people keeping our roads safe. A 2025 Gallup survey found 54% of U.S. adults consume alcohol. That's a dip from 64% just 10 years earlier.
Folks are using less alcohol. They're looking for alcohol alternatives, but they're also using less alcohol in addition to co-ingesting other drugs.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration released a drug prevalence study in 2022. It looked at the toxicology results of more than 7,000 seriously or fatally injured road users from select medical examiners and trauma centers, including one in Charlotte, North Carolina. Nearly 20% of the road users tested positive for 2 or more categories of drugs. Researchers found active THC to be the most prevalent drug category, followed by alcohol, stimulants, and opioids.
As drinking habits change, law enforcement is adjusting, and they're turning to tools like this.
It can be used roadside or at a test site.
This is an oral fluid testing kit.
We're just going to put it in my mouth.
Kenny Benfield with the state's Department of Health and Human Services showed us how it works.
We're going to stick it into the device.
And within a few minutes, the device will indicate whether it detects drugs. But law enforcement agencies can't just start using these tools. WRAL Investigates explains why, tonight at 6. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News.
Meanwhile, we're keeping our eye on the weather right now. Giant letters, heat. That's the big headline in terms of weather right now, Amy. And it's not slowing down. Triple-digit temperatures this week.
Yeah, for the holiday weekend when we know a lot of people are outside. So, yeah, it's going to be very hot with this big ridge of high pressure over us. We'll have triple digits highs starting Thursday, and that will continue all the way through the holiday weekend. Start hydrating now. You can go ahead and start hydrating now to prepare for this dangerous heat. So the forecast high today, 91, the heat index in the mid 90s. It is pretty muggy out there today. 94 the high tomorrow, the heat index around 96. Wednesday, 99 for the high, the heat index 102, which is under heat advisory criteria. Now Thursday will probably go under a heat advisory. 102 is the forecast high and the heat index 106. 104 Friday, a heat index of 109. So Thursday, Friday, I think we're going to have a heat advisory in place, and that probably will continue into Saturday for the 4th of July. Notice how a big part of the area has that extreme heat, and so it's going to be dangerous heat for the 4th of July holiday. Just make sure you take some breaks if you can. You have to drink a lot of water as well. Now, Sunday, as we're wrapping up the long holiday weekend, a good part of North Carolina in the extreme heat again, so it's going to be another hot day. We're forecasting a high of 100 here in Raleigh with a heat index perhaps at heat advisory criteria. Now, we've had 3 days so far this summer in the 100s. The record is 12, and we will add to these. I do think we're going to have some 100-degree days coming up starting Thursday, and especially as we get into Friday and Saturday. A live look at Lake Gaston right now. You can see the clouds in place. A pontoon boat enjoying the day today. Temperatures aren't that bad. We're in the 80s across most of the area. We do have a couple of showers moving through the northeastern part of our viewing area. So here's Rocky Mount. If you're watching us, these are just to the west of you. Henderson, you have some showers just to the north and east of town. All of those slowly moving to the south. Most of you will stay dry today. 81 is the current temperature in Raleigh. It feels like 84 when you factor in the dew points, which are in the 70s right now. It feels like 91 now in Clinton. It also feels like 91 in Goldsboro. 88 is the heat index in Fayetteville, and 90 is what it feels like in Southern Pines. High temperatures are close to normal this afternoon. The heat index in the mid 90s, 91 for the high. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds. Today will be the coolest day in the next 7. A quick look at the tropics. We don't have a whole lot going on, but we do have one area off the North Carolina coast that's highlighted by the National Hurricane Center. It only has a 10% chance of development. I think the biggest issue we might have with this would be perhaps some dangerous rip currents along the North Carolina coast over the next few days. For today, things are pretty quiet, just an isolated shower, a high of 91, 94 tomorrow, approaching 100 Wednesday, and then we're in the 100s Thursday, and that's going to be the case all the way through Sunday.
Boy. AC is getting some overtime this weekend. Thanks, Amy. All right, we're talking about a blast from the past. A nostalgic character sets up shop on the Mag Mile. What this venue has that others like it does not. Well, as we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today on WRAL News. 2 detention officers who were being held hostage inside the Bertie Martin Regional Jail are now safe. But officials say that situation is not over. Investigators also say inmates overpowered staff and took control of parts of the jail this morning. Law enforcement is still there on scene, trying to regain control of the jail. And officials say there is no threat to the public, but drivers should continue to avoid being in that area.
State lawmakers reached a long-awaited deal on the state budget. Their goal is to vote on it this week. Under the deal, state employees would receive their first raise in 2 years. As of late last night, lawmakers were still working through smaller member requests, and that includes money for new bridges, fire stations, and home districts, among other things.
Well, it is the start of what is expected to be a very busy travel week. AAA is predicting nearly 6 million people are set to fly for the 4th of July holiday. At RDU, TSA expects to screen about 133,000 passengers between July 2nd and July 6th. The busiest days for travel are expected to be this Thursday, next Sunday, and Monday. The TSA is preparing by increasing staff and reminding people to get to the airport earlier than normal, Renee.
The world's largest Hello Kitty cafe is now open in Chicago. It is the latest addition along the Magnificent Mile. People waited outside hours for the grand opening. The 8,000 square foot cafe is designed with Chicago-inspired skyline touches. It even has an exclusive feature, a speakeasy-style bow room that offers an afternoon tea experience, reservations only.
30 years ago today, a device went on sale that would change how we communicate. Apple chief executive Steve Jobs introduced the device, saying Apple is going to reinvent the phone. The first entry-level iPhone sold for $499 and had 4 gigabytes of storage. It was named 2007's Invention of the Year by Time magazine. And to date, we're talking about 2.3 billion iPhones that have been sold. It's a lot of phones. Money and relationships.